honestly, when you look back at all the past mayors, it really does track. They all would have been so much happier as influencers.
I feel like we should not have that. Like, why is my taxpayer money going to, like, Curtis Sliwa?
If you don't, you're going to lose your job. And then he did.
Shit.
Wow. Hold on. An employee who works for Turkish Airlines tried to be Adam's senior advisor.
Welcome to Noisecutter.
All right, and welcome to yet another episode of the Noisecutter podcast, returning after a little bit of a hiatus because, with Eric Adams being indicted, it's too good to stay away from. I'm joined today by Sara, Levine, and Danny Murphy, who we recorded a podcast, a year ago or like 9 months ago, which was actually on your guys' podcast, not another true crime podcast, RIP.
Yes.
I was gonna say, now
Died as it
defunct.
lives. Yeah, it got caught.
Listen, man, these things, they come and they go, but the moments last forever.
The downloads cannot be scrubbed. That is true.
I was gonna say the real podcast was the friends we made along the way.
Well, yeah, no, it gives us the opportunity to reunite for things like this. What's more ridiculous, this or that? Eric Adams is nonsense or Sam Bankman-Fried's nonsense?
I'm saying this because this is like where it's like all of politics is involved, and while we learn more and more every day, there is really nothing to structure politics. We still want to hope there is a level of it.
I think this too, because I don't know, Sam Bankman-Fried just does not impact my life at all. I think I'm not in that tax bracket. Eric Adams, like anytime you step on the subway, his bullshit is like front and center in your face.
Yeah, no, 100%, right? I mean, like that's the thing. I guess for our perspective, us three being New Yorkers,
No, I
you're
didn't
still
vote
based
for
in New
him.
York.
So y'all, this is on y'all. I
didn't vote for
lived
him
in New York
either.
since 2021. So
What?
So I'm a Jersey boy. So give me any.
Fair.
We have a lot. We got to do a Jersey episode down the line, but I can just.
Yeah, I mean, there's
I'm like,
never
don't put this on me. I did not vote for that man.
no, and Danny, there's never been any corruption in New Jersey.
No.
Never, ever. Bob Menendez, who is
Yeah.
that guy? Like, no one knows who that.
Oh my God.
He is-
That's right.
yeah.
I mean, like hot on the heels, right? You would think this Joker would have learned from that
I think
one,
he
but,
did, which was the issue. We're giving each other tips.
Fair. No gold bars here, as far as we
Yes.
know, right? But all right, let's dive into this indictment. It's long. We won't obviously go through it line by line or paragraph by paragraph. It's kind of repetitive. He does the same stupid thing over and over again. But sort of overarching theme is the Turkish government, through like the Turkish airline, which is like owned, I guess, in large part by the Turkish government, facilitated like lots of travel for him and then sought to extract benefits, right? Classic kind of like corruption nonsense. And there was like donation stuff along the way. But I guess from page one, the only thing that really jumps out to me is like, it's not as though the Turks by themselves came over and were like, oh, hey, like political candidate, here's some money, hint, hint, or like, oh, look, we've donated so much to you. No, apparently, like, as the scheme progressed, Adams increasingly sought, like, right? So it's like, no, please bribe me. I'm for sale. This is all.
That was my question at first with seeing this. I was like, how did they meet? Like, how did this union start? But now I get it that he was kind of just out there begging for any airline to, or yeah.
Well, it's yeah. I mean, it's kind of random, also, right? Like how the whole thing started, right? And I'll get to this, I guess, from the indictment pages themselves. But like, there's a community center in Brooklyn, and he's Brooklyn borough president when this all starts. I mean, the thing is, this doesn't start when he's mayor. This starts back in 2014 when he's just a borough president of Brooklyn. Which, like, why is a foreign government? Why do they care
Yeah.
about a New York mayor or like a city mayor? But then why do they care about like the Brooklyn
It's very
borough
niche.
president? Very. I mean, I think he marketed himself to them as like the next Obama, and they
Okay.
bought it hook, line, and sinker. Which, like,
Yikes.
who was really more to
That's
blame there?
true.
I don't know.
Okay.
That's on them for not doing their research.
Yeah, so here we start, right? Bullet point 9, within a year of becoming Brooklyn borough president, he gets elected to that in 2014. Eric Adams, the defendant, begins building relationships with foreign nationals who were seeking influence with him. So it doesn't really say exactly like where it all kicked off, like why Turkey or why this connection, but Later, the indictment does go into.
He probably just like went to Istanbul and was like, "Oh my god, I could totally see myself living
Well,
here."
Because most of the New York men I know that have a relationship to Turkey are getting their hair transplants. And I was like, Eric Adams did not need one of those. He doesn't look like one of the patients of that. So I was like, did one of his friends? You know what I mean?
He does have a shaved head. Probably he's like me, where it's like thinning in the middle,
You're like,
right?
why
And it's just
not?
like make the smart decision. But yeah, you're right. I mean, the hair plugs thing is
Now,
totally a
I would have
big.
loved if he always wore a hat, and if they took the hat off full
Yes.
Scooby Doo style, and it was full Plug City, and they're like, oh, like it would help. I feel like more like chess pieces line up. Yeah.
Yeah. We need a different color
Yes.
beret. I mean, look, Sliwa's beret is red,
Woo!
Republican. Get him a blue beret.
Yes.
We're
Except
fashion
that
consulting.
Adams like only became a Democrat
For this campaign,
recently.
I feel
Also
yeah,
true. Yeah. Right.
Just got him
Right.
a red one.
that's true. Or
There's-
purple, because red and blue together.
So okay, here's I mean from the jump it's kind of fishy, right? His first trip in August 2015 was arranged by the Turkish Consulate General in New York City. It's like that's not a travel agency,
No.
right? Like why are they
And also for someone who's doing like Brooklyn localized politics, it's not like, because I would get like when you're the mayor of New York, maybe you're dealing with more international affairs, but not. I don't know what Brooklyn has to do with it.
Yeah, this starts when he's literally the guy like fielding my complaints about how there's too many rats on the waterfront in Williams.
And I hope they would always just reply, "Move." Like, what?
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, and then he does it again. So he goes in August and then he goes in December. Like, here's the other thing.
That's so fast.
I'd like to go to Turkey. I feel like it's a
Yes.
great place to visit, but like I don't think I'm going there twice in half year, right? Like that's
What's his PTO situation as the Brooklyn Borough president? This is what I want to know.
I mean, fair questions, right? Yeah, I actually have no idea how to even like address that. Like, what do I don't know how that works. I know in Congress they're always on fucking
Yeah.
holiday, right?
I
But,
feel they
like,
have like we take no days off because we're always ourselves, but they're never working. At least from
Correct.
whenever I've tried to get in contact with anything. But yeah,
and so I'll the first thing that kind of strikes me is like, dude, if you're gonna do like blatant corruption, why not go first? But then later it comes out in the indictment that business class is actually first class. They don't have anything higher than that. And when you see the pricing, you'll
God.
see that in a second. It's
Okay, but imagine if he'd done corruption for coach tickets. Like,
that's like doing corruption
can't.
for a Coach bag. You know what I mean? Like, it's not worth it. And
I think the coach bag costs more probably.
honestly, yeah.
Like, you can't be doing like basic economy.
No, you need to have a
Bribery.
seat selection.
no, I need to scroll down to this part because there's the general manager of like Turkish Airlines in New York is like the main corruption guy who's like on the travel side, who's like, I guess holds himself out in what he thought were private messages as a representative of the Turkish government because it's so state owned, et cetera, et cetera. And at one point, like Eric Adams has like someone else book his tickets. They were only like, and then goes to the airline manager being like, yo, let me get that free upgrade you always give me. And they're only able to upgrade his traveling companion. So one time he actually did do corruption and flew coach, apparently.
Mm.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy that they don't even update the guy that they're bribing. They upgrade
Probably because
his
they're like, we didn't know you needed
companion.
8 flights a year. Like, you can't, like, why are
Yeah.
you still here?
And then later his companion posts like, AITA for accepting a free upgrade while my travel companion was stuck in coach.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically the situation as far as I can surmise. He goes to Turkey, but it's not just Turkey, right? So obviously, like many airlines, right? Turkish Airlines flies to other places as well, and so he travels to France, China, Sri Lanka, India, Hungary, and also Turkey.
Wanderlust.
Hotels, free meals at high-end restaurants, free luxurious entertainment. And like, I don't know, man.
Is that sex work?
It's not in the indictment, at least unless I didn't catch it. But no, I didn't read that here. But like, whenever I hear those words in a context like this, Sarah, dead on, right? Like,
You know what also is like, I'm getting like the worst takeaway from this. I'm like, free meals, like first class, everything. Like, I should have been a fucking politician. I know it's ending awful. I know this is how it's ending for him now, but I'm like, damn.
more like, why didn't he become an influencer?
That's true.
He wanted to, though, because he would party with influencers like all the time. He'd
He was
always be
always out.
photographed with Cara Delevingne
Yes.
and stuff. Like he
Wait,
just, I think
really?
he was just born way too early to
I
be an
know.
influencer, and he was like, okay, I guess I'm just gonna become the mayor of New York
It's like
City.
it was his
I mean,
safety
if I
school. It was
ca-
his backup plan.
His safety school.
what does that tell you about the
Oh.
state of New York nowadays? That the person who's mayor really wanted
And
to be an influencer. but
Honestly,
turned it
when you
down.
look back at all the past mayors, it really does track. They all would have been so much happier as influencers.
Yeah. I mean, De Blasio, I don't
Well,
know about that.
I
Bloomberg, yeah,
feel De
definitely.
Blasio would be very good at like a story time influencer. You know what I mean? Where he'd be like,
Yeah.
Well, isn't he kind of doing that now, like all over the press?
Is he?
I think he is.
I think he's having his
I'm-
like moment of like, because when Eric Adams got elected, everyone was like really cursing up De Blasio so much. So I think he's kind of coming around now, like, oh, hi guys, I never flew
know.
anywhere. He just, I
It's
was
like
on
how
field.
you look at your
Yeah.
ex.
He was like, no, I was talking over like Turkish tea to get a third party for my relationship.
He's still
Exactly.
extremely salty. Yeah.
It's like how we look at Mitt Romney, like, wait, come back.
That's so sad. God. Wow. The world
sad for
really
all
is
of us,
ending.
honestly. So yeah, okay. So basically, the way the scheme works is that Adams pays like the coach price, or sometimes even less, and they upgrade him to business class, which is their first class, and then give him this whole royal tour. But like, it'll go into the amounts later. But what do they get as a benefit, right? And here's like in paragraph 6, the main benefit, right? So he pressures the FDNY to facilitate the opening of a new Turkish consulate building. And so what does that mean, facilitate the opening of, right? And it's like they needed to open this like building by the time the president of Turkey came over to New York for a visit for the UNGA, and they couldn't pass their fire inspection. And so like the main benefit that Eric Adams like gave them, right, in exchange for all of this like ludicrous travel and whatnot, is he told the FDNY commissioner to tell the local inspector, and we have the emails of the back and forth on this, not between Adams and the commissioner, but between the commissioner and the actual guy on the ground, where the guy on the ground is like, bro, this building would go up in smoke, like if you flicked a match at it. Like, no, I cannot give you the sign off. And apparently he was told, if you don't, you're gonna lose your job. And then he did.
Shit.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's also the thing, like, wouldn't you want,
That means he stuck to his principles.
if you were building that, you're like, wait, I don't want a building that is going to catch flame so fast.
You would think, right? But like, I don't know
Especially
what's more
with your
important.
president
Yeah.
inside, right?
Could you imagine? Like,
And in the city where everyone is smoking
it's-
outside, Mary Kate and Ashley Olsen could burn that down in a second.
correct.
Even just one of them. Yeah.
And so here's where things get kind of shitty, right? And so like in city elections, corporations can't give money, obviously foreign interests can't give money. And so like there's this whole big focus on getting like individual donors. And so why this thing blew up is so like not why it blew up, but like why it took on such a really kind of like even dirtier pallor to it is a lot of this foreign money was like then funneled into what are called straw donors, right? So like, you know, a random dude working for a construction company or whatever who like doesn't have any inclination to necessarily donate to a political cause, his boss, who's like a Turkish guy, would like give him a check and be like, hey, donate this money, like, and you know, we'll reimburse you or whatever. It's called a straw donor. But the kind of worst part about that is so there's a matching funds program in New York, right? And so it's meant to give like lower income city residents more of a voice. And so what it does is, you know, for eligible contributions of at least $250, a candidate can collect up to $2,000 in matching funds. The matching funds are public money. That's taxpayer money for their own campaign, right? And it's a way of like amplifying the donations of small dollar, you know, individual donors. And so, the matching funds program overall would provide up to $12.9 million, so $13 million basically in matching fund for qualifying mayoral candidates during the primary and general elections of the 2021 cycle.
Okay. I've never learned about this thing. I feel like we should not have that. Like, why is my taxpayer money going to like Curtis Sliwa or just anybody, like any of these like 15 million people that primaried in the mayor race? Like, why?
Yeah, bingo. Like, think about it, right? Like,
that's like actually nuts.
What are you using that money for as a candidate? You're using it to like amp your personal profile, right? So like, I don't know, if Rex Chatterjee wants to market his like law firm, why doesn't he run for mayor? get a bunch of like small donations, right? Have the matching program 8x those, I think is what it is, right? It's $8 for one. And then you're using public funds to campaign for mayor, and then, oh, I lost. I guess that sucks. But now a lot more people know my name.
Wait, that's yeah. Why are taxpayer dollars?
We still
going
can't
to
get
that?
a subway clean. Like, what the fuck?
Correct.
Yeah.
I agree with you, Sarah. That's my instinct exactly. It's like,
That's
it's basically
crazy.
free marketing money for people that, try to run for office, I guess. Like, I could see from a policy standpoint why it might seem like a good idea, but in practice, I think the net effect is like a bad incentive.
But wouldn't it match everybody's contributions, or it only matches if you're from like a certain district?
Yeah, and so that's the
Because
thing.
if you match everybody equally, then I'm like, well, you're just doubling the problem, I guess.
Yeah, it's like, no, so it's citywide, right? So I think it's so it says eligible contributions from New York City residents. Wait, hang on. So the indictment kind of like waffle waffles here. This is from the indictment and not from the actual like program language, but it says the matching funds program would provide up to $8 in matching funds for each $1 of eligible contributions, up to $250 from New York City residents. And then it goes on to say, in other words, for each eligible contribution of at least $250. And I think that's not wrong. That's not right. I think that's wrong. I think it's at most $250. A participating candidate could collect up to $2,000, right? And I think 250 times 8 is 2,000. Yeah. So right. So that is what it does, right? So it's $8 for $1 up to 250. So yeah, I mean, I think what they're trying to say here, I don't think they're doing income checks on these like donors, right? I think it's more like someone who's donating $250 is probably of a middle or lower income station if they're, but that's a bad assumption to begin with for various reasons.
Yeah. Oh
but,
my God.
Yeah. But on that assumption, then your $250 donation can turn into $2,000 via matching funds as long as you're a resident in New York City. Here's something that was kind of weird. A volunteer at Brooklyn Borough Hall. So this is going back to the time that Adams was Brooklyn Borough president. So a volunteer at Borough Hall, which is like Brooklyn's city hall, right? Borough Hall, who then served as Adams's liaison to Eastern Europe Muslim countries, including Turkey. But it's like, number one, why does the Brooklyn Borough president have a liaison to Eastern Europe Muslim countries? Also, wouldn't it be Eastern European Muslim countries? But I digress. And then Turkey is not in Eastern Europe. So this whole thing is just like, what?
It's a not needed position with the incorrect title doing it's at least giving a good, I mean, at least when you look back to that, you're like, oh, this could be more proof for the reality he's in now.
Is that why in every interview he's like, New York is the Paris of the U.S. and then cut to New York is the Istanbul of the U.S. and then he'll be like, New York is the Rio de Janeiro. Like every random city, he'll say New York is the blank of the U.S. And we're like, bitch, we're New York. What are you talking about?
Correct. Yeah. No, it's mind-boggling. But yeah, I guess he had a bunch of these liaisons to random places, and then we're just like, I mean, that's one way to kind of shotgun fundraise, right? It's just like try to court every single ethnic community. And yeah, I mean, Brooklyn's super diverse, and you do have pockets of diversity, but that's like non-unique, right? Like Queens is also super diverse. Like I don't.
And also,
think
I was like, you would think that would be a
particular.
liaison to like the communities of, not just the countries, because you would want to be in communication with the people that would relate to that in your borough.
100% right. Your interest should be in serving the communities of those people living in Brooklyn, not the Turkish
in terms
government.
Of what he could be able to do with his political power. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So the whole thing from the jump, right, seems a little like he was angling, right? It seems like it. I don't know if they're going to press that at trial, but like, I mean, I think they are, right? I think it's basically, this wasn't a scheme that like kind of happened to him. He was cooking this up like either prior to or during his time as Brooklyn Borough president, which is back in 2014. So this is a volunteer. And so let's try to think about this the other way, right? If you're the Turkish government, you're like, all right, like, let's insert some volunteer, give them some, like, try to say they want to volunteer some weird role. And then secretly they're just like kind of serving as our conduit into this guy that we think is vulnerable because, you know, like he needs money and we can offer ways to funnel that. As you'll see, this person who they refer to as Adam's staffer becomes a core part of the bribery scheme. Anyway, this person apparently does a good job or whatever because they become a paid member of Adam's staff at Borough Hall and later at City Hall. So this staffer accompanies Adams on his 2015 travel to Turkey. Okay, so in October 2016, Adams and his domestic partner travel to India. They purchase economy class tickets for themselves, Adams and his partner, on Turkish Airlines. First of all, why are you flying Turkish Airline to India? As an Indian person, that strikes me as very odd.
Well, yeah, when it's free 99.
Yeah, I'll be flying that plane anywhere.
So it's not though, right? So like,
I'll be flying Turkish Air to Atlanta if it's free.
Can you imagine? Well, that also comes up, not to Atlanta, but like, sir, we don't have a route there.
God,
that comes up
course.
later. For approximately $2,300, right, is like what they purchased these 2 economy class tickets for. 2 days before their flight was scheduled to depart, Adams accepted upgrades for himself and his partner by Turkish Airlines to business class at no cost. Business class being the highest class offered by Turkish Airlines. First of all, that's kind of sus, but I mean, do we want to go into that?
About how business class is the highest class there? Wait,
that's kind of weird, right?
Rename it for like, so that isn't always, or no?
I don't know. But anyway, the point is, so business class, the 2 tickets would have cost $15,000.
That's a discount.
But also, like, who is buying that in general?
The whole thing is extremely weird. It's like, okay, look, I mean, I haven't traveled to India in quite some time, but like, let's cut these in half for like a single person, $2,300. So that's
$1,100?
$1,100.
$1,150, right? Something like that. For a round trip to India economy, that's a pretty good price. That's a really good price, actually. But then for business class to go up to $7,500, that seems a little high. That seems a little rich. I don't know.
But how long is that flight? Because once you get into long flight territory, I'm like, I would want to be in first class.
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah. No, that's true.
I don't know if I could first class 7,500, but yeah.
Yeah, typically you stop. Like, I think they do directs now to Delhi and Calcutta and places like that. But like, I don't know, like, just to not get what's that deep vein thrombosis you can get if you're on a plane for too long. Yeah, just to not do that. I would always say like transfer in London, transfer in Frankfurt. Like, don't.
Yikes.
Don't
Okay.
try to do
Good
it.
to know.
Yeah, I had a friend in law school, or someone I was friends with in law school, after law school get a DVT and it was really bad. Yeah. I heard it secondhand information.
If only,
but,
like, why isn't insurance covering first class flights for us? That
right?
Kamala, let's write this, like, girl.
I mean, if we're trying to introduce brat policies into politics, like,
Yeah.
That should be a thing.
so yeah, then he goes to what? He goes to Nice again. Like,
God.
what is the Brooklyn borough president doing? And this is in 2017. Yeah, so he's Brooklyn borough president. He's going to Nice, Istanbul, Sri Lanka, Beijing. Like, what?
I mean, he's living. I mean, if only he was like in charge of Williamsburg, because that's what like the trust fund kids there do throughout their years. So he might be trying to like get the hang of like their vibe, but very much not what he needs to be doing for work.
I mean,
he's literally that girl you follow on Instagram who's in like Greece 1 week and Portugal the next, and you're like, do you have a job?
that's like every girl on Instagram. I feel
Exactly.
like. Yeah,
See, he just wanted to be an Instagram girly.
I think that's I mean,
Maybe that will be his defense in court.
Your Honor, the algorithm, yes.
I was just having a brat girl
Yes.
mayoralship. Yeah, or a borough
Exactly.
presidency. Yeah, no, fair enough. So he flew Turkish Airlines even when doing so was otherwise inconvenient, is what the indictment alleges, right? And so, for example, during the July and August 2017 trip, Adams' partner was surprised to learn that Adams was in Turkey when she'd understood him to be flying from New York to France. Adams responded in a text message, quote, transferring here, first stop is always Istanbul. Like, what?
It would be like he should have just made up a lie and said that he was having an affair with someone who lived there. Like that would have been a much more criminally not indicting situation. Yeah,
Culpable. Yeah, no, I mean, at this time, I didn't think that's the thing about these jokers, right? Is like they think that like they're not going to get caught, but But yeah, no, the other thing is you think that he would know that, like, you know,
That the SDNY doesn't fuck around.
well, yeah, but also that, like, deleting a text doesn't really delete it from criminal investigators.
He's so dumb.
I mean, it's so dumb. His partner later inquired about planning a trip to Easter Island, Chile, and Adams repeatedly asked her whether the Turkish airline could be used for their flights, requiring her to call the Turkish airline to confirm that they did not have routes between New York and Chile because they're the Turkish airline.
Why would they?
Also, like, sorry, I know you're able to scale so much, but like, you can use your own money on occasion.
Right.
It's mind-boggling. Okay, as borough president, he employed a scheduler who manages appointments, meetings, and other official events. Despite her status as a city employee, Adams' scheduler was used by Adams to do personal tasks, such as collecting rent at a Brooklyn property that he owned.
Huh. Like, also, like,
Okay, what?
I guess
Why? I feel like the borough
that's
president
what I
should
was
not
just
be a
trying to wrap my head
landlord.
around too. I'm like, I feel that is unethical, but as we're reading in this document, that's not really.
It is kind of funny. I don't know, like in Southampton, right? Like the town commissioner or whatever, like the town supervisor, also owns a clothing boutique with his partner, I think. So like, I thought that was kind of weird. It's like on one hand, you're like, I don't know, but yeah, I mean, like you gotta
And
you can have business, I
I
guess.
know,
I don't know.
at least, and
Kinda
at least
weird.
with that one, I'm like, if you're choosing to buy a $250 overpriced shirt, that's of your own volition. But like, to be a landlord where you're
Exactly.
like, my pipe isn't working, I have to call the person. So I could either complain to the government about my land. Oh wait, but that is my landlord. So what do I do?
Yeah,
Exactly.
fair enough. Fair enough, right? Like, yeah, because landlords are regulated in a way that like clothing store owners are not. Yeah, no, that's fair. Hey, good on you. That's right. That's
It's
100%
also just
right.
like, do I want to choose to buy this shirt or do I like need a place to live?
Correct. One of these things is not like the other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like,
So the scheduler also paid various personal expenses for Eric Adams, after which Adams would reimburse her in
Yeah.
cash.
sketch.
Sketchy.
Yeah.
So in 2017, Adams sent a series of emails to the scheduler directing them to pay for the free 2017 flights he and his companions had already taken on the Turkish airline. But the emails provided inconsistent explanations. In some, Adams suggested that the scheduler should pay using Adams' credit card, while in others, Adams claimed to have left an envelope of cash in that person's desk.
That's ominous.
What?
Can't keep
Yeah.
track of his lies.
Strange. For instance, I left you the money for the international airline in an envelope in your top desk drawer. First of all, he doesn't know how to spell drawer.
Oh,
Jesus
Lord.
Christ.
No,
Please
he's
send it to them.
New York.
Please
Draw.
draw. Given that the cost would have been at least $10,000, he left this much money allegedly to send to them as payments for flights taken months earlier. Man, I wish I could just
Oh.
like send a stack of bills to American Airlines like 6 months after I go somewhere.
That's
That'd
so
be
nice. Like,
great.
I'm good
Yeah,
for
that
it.
is not
Trust
how
me.
that works.
Yeah, trust me, homies. What else? As he texted a close supporter later in the campaign for his 2021 mayoral race, you win the race by raising money. Have to raise money. Everything else is fluff. I have a $7 million race. I have a clear plan to raise it, and each night we are out executing the plan.
He's always just out painting the town. I guess that was his plan.
I mean,
Yeah, wasn't he at like One Oak or something?
I think he was spotted there. I'm sure we can find pictures of that. I mean, I get it, right? Like politics does cost money, but like that is not the way I would ever phrase it in writing. Have to raise money. Everything else is
Yeah,
fluff.
and you're like, oh, not your policy. Oh,
It's just jars of marshmallow fluff. So the staffer, the person that used to be his liaison to Eastern Europe, Muslim countries, including Turkey. Yeah. So like in a series of messages exchanged with the staffer, a Turkish business person states that they facilitated a straw donation through an associate. Like that's not legal. And why are you like literally texting someone about this, much less someone that like is receiving the money? Records from the CFB show that this associate ultimately donated $3,000 in his own name and described himself as unemployed.
Yeah.
Like, you can't even do fraud right. In what universe is an unemployed person donating $3,000 to fucking Eric
Well,
Adams?
you know, when everyone thinks, oh, I want to be an NW, it's not for the weak. You know, you have to be a professional fraudster.
Yeah, you gotta. Yeah, I mean you gotta
Yeah.
sell it. You gotta spend years building the legend. Yeah, no, I agree. So now there's a promoter, right? Who's just a fundraiser.
With him,
It's not a
He's a
club
club
promoter.
promoter.
It could have been a club promoter turned
probably.
fundraiser.
Probably was.
Discussed by text message a possible trip by Adams to Turkey. The promoter stated, fundraising in Turkey is not legal, but I think I can raise money for your campaign off the record. His staffer inquires, how will Adams declare that money here? And the promoter responds, he won't declare it. Or, we'll make the donation to an American citizen in the U.S., a Turk. I'll give cash to him in Turkey. Or I'll send it to an American. He will make a donation to you.
Idiots. Oh my God.
The Adams staffer responds, to their credit, I think he wouldn't get involved in such games. They might cause a big stink later on. I'll ask anyways.
Yikes.
And then the staffer asks, how much do you think would come from you? And the promoter responds, max 100K. And the staffer writes, 100K? Do you have a chance to transfer that here? We can't do it while Eric is in Turkey. To which the promoter responds, let's think. I don't know. This whole thing is just like, it's mind-boggling, right? If they didn't do any of this via text message, but suddenly 100K worth of diamonds happens to land in Eric Adams's, like, also, what about crypto, right? Big crypto guy, 100K worth of Bitcoin happens to...
Yeah, didn't he say he was going to take his salary in crypto?
Yeah. His first 3 paychecks, he said that he would take them in Bitcoin or whatever. No, like the whole thing. So Adams, the staffer, asks him whether he should pursue the unlawful foreign contributions offered by the promoter. And apparently contrary to the staffer's expectations, Adams directed the staffer to pursue the promoter's illegal scheme. Like, of course. Okay. Following up, Adams writes to the staffer that businessman that, oh no, this is a different guy, not the promoter. Now we've got businessman 1, a wealthy Turkish national who owned Turkish University, a for-profit educational conglomerate in Turkey. First of all, the minute you hear for-profit education in like a country like Turkey or India or elsewhere, like, get the goosebumps, because it's just like the places are degree mills that render people in debt and unemployable. Yeah, I mean, it's not good. But then, although Adams knew that businessman 1 was a Turkish national who could not lawfully contribute to U.S. elections, Adams directed the staffer to obtain the illegal contributions offered by them. Following up on his directive, he writes to the staffer, it doesn't say whether email or text, that businessman 1 is, quote, ready to help. I don't want his willing to help be wasted.
Okay.
Of course, wasted being spelled W-A-I-S-T-E-D. They're just like, I thought this would be a funny podcast, but like the more I keep reading this shit, I'm just like, this guy gets elected to probably the most powerful mayorship in America, maybe the world.
Yeah.
Right? And this is the like low-level skullduggery we're dealing with. Like, come on.
In a city full of very expert scammers.
Yeah. It's not like we're in, like Iowa or some place where everyone's just kind of nice and honest. I don't know. Yeah.
But I feel like we really got fucked over by the primary and the ranked choice voting, because like a lot of people didn't understand it. And then there wasn't a lot of education around the candidates and how this ranked choice voting even worked. So I think a lot of people just only voted for one person, and that really like fucked it up. Because I think Adams, let me look it up. I don't think he won by very much. And then all he really had to do was win the primary, because there's no way New York is electing a Republican mayor, even if we did effectively elect a Republican mayor.
Yeah.
2022. Let's see what happened.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. So in the first round, Adams got like 289,000 votes. Maya Wiley got 201,000, and Catherine Garcia got 184,000. So it wasn't that far off. It's like maybe 90,000 votes between him and Maya Wiley. But then Maya Wiley got eliminated after the first round. And even still, he only won the final round of the primary by 0.7% of the vote.
This whole thing is just like, it's just sad, honestly.
I'm just like, what happens? What happens next?
Eric Adams goes to Istanbul in January 2019. During his trip, the promoter arranges for him to meet a wealthy Turkish businessman. This is businessman 3. The Turkish official, through Adams' staffer, discourages him from meeting businessman 3, who was then under suspicion of wrongdoing. Okay. Adams does so nonetheless. He's like, yo, money? I'm there. During their meeting, Adams and the promoter solicited campaign contributions from businessman 3, who, as a Turkish national, could not lawfully contribute to any U.S. campaign. Okay, so he knows he's doing wrong, but like, fuck it, right? Money. Everything else is fluff. During the meeting, businessman 3 agreed to contribute $50,000 or more to the 2021 campaign, believing Adams might one day be president of the United States. Like,
Delulu. That's like when this all happened, someone resurfaced this Nate Silver tweet because he basically said the same thing. He had said, I believe if any mayor or maybe any New York City mayor is going to be president, it's going to be Eric Adams. And it's like, bro, we don't even like
I'm
him.
seeing it with my own eyes. We're like, what eyes? Yeah.
Like a literally insane tweet. We literally just, I feel like when he won the primary, we were just like, well, okay, I guess.
Yeah. No, correct. I have, like, Nate Silver, I have a decent amount of, had a decent amount of respect for, right? But like, I guess everyone's allowed to be wrong, but like, how are you allowed to be this wrong? Like, this
and
is
confidently.
Confidently. No, this was insane. Absolutely nuts. Oh, of course, there's a text from the staffer, texts Adams, to be on the safe side, please delete all messages you send me. And Adams responds, always
Oh my
do.
God, that is adorable. That is like, wow, that's very adorably funny.
And it's like, there are ways, right, to communicate using phones that like are more evasive to surveillance or investigation. SMS, which I'm assuming all of this is not one of them.
Yeah, BlackBerry's better.
Yeah, like old school Blackberries, like Signal, I don't know, WhatsApp claims to be private, right? Signal and Telegram are the ones that I think people generally default to. Journalists also, but journalists use them for like sensitive source reporting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's super common. Adams employee told businessman 4, another dude, that donating $10K would give the businessman influence with Adams. Like, you can't, I guess tone comes from the top, but like, you've got employees of the campaign now going out and being like, yo, donate 10K, you'll get some influence. And it'll be more expensive later. Like, what? Yeah. And so then it's like, oh no, don't write a 10K check from your company. You can't do that. Don't write it from your personal. It's got to max out at 2K. Donate instead from employees and then reimburse the employees. This is the campaign telling them to do this. And it's like, that's obviously very illegal. But again, now at this point of like, what, we're about half an hour, 40 minutes into reading this nonsense, it's like, are we even surprised? Businessman 4 then says, yo, I'm having a hard time with the DOB getting a stop work order lifted. Only you can lift it. And he says, Adams himself says, let me look into this. And then approximately a week later, this guy texts Adams saying, Mayor, brother, I want to thank you for your help. DOB issue partially resolved and they promise to expedite the process. Thank you. You have my continued support.
But is he gonna have to step down before all of this happens, or is he going down with the ship?
Well, so that's the thing. He said he
won't
step
saw
down.
That he said, but like, he also has said all these
Kathy
things.
Hochul can remove him, but they seem to be buddies.
Let's check her. No, I'm joking. I'm like,
but I'm also like, she has the opportunity to do not the funniest thing ever, but like one decent thing. Because I feel like, Kathy, you need the PR win after congestion pricing. And she's getting sued now for nixing it. So I'm like, take the W, like get rid of him. Everybody will love you again. And then they also tried to ban masks on the subway.
That. I was like, what?
Yeah.
So I'm like, Kathy, you have a chance. Like, you need to take your moment.
Yeah. I mean, meanwhile, the NYPD is getting into shootouts over people doing fare evasion. Like,
exactly.
Honestly. Here's a fun one. Airline manager, right? Who's a Turkish government official, apparently. I'm going to charge $0. The staffer, no. Airline manager, that wouldn't work, would it? The staffer, no, dear. $50? What? Quote a proper price.
What is no, dear? That's like when scammers email me and they're like, Dear, we are
Hi,
from
love.
Fashion Nova. We have an amazing branding opportunity for you.
Yeah, no, and then airline manager, how much should I charge? Smiley face. And the staffer goes, his every step is being watched right now. $1,000 or so. Let it be somewhat real. We don't want them to say he is flying for free. And then he paid $1,100 for tickets that would have cost more than $15,000. Oh, here's another one. Airline manager, Four Seasons. Staffer, it's too expensive. Manager, why does he care? He is not going to pay. His name will not be on anything either. The staffer,
Wow.
super.
That's amazing.
That's like, I kind of want to, I know that again, it's wrong. I kind of want to put that on my vision board though. That I'm going to the Four Seasons not paying. Like, I hope through a more legal way, but that sounds lovely.
You can make that
Yes.
happen.
I mean, that's fucking awesome.
Oh, here's where it gets like stupid, right? Adams, the Turkish official, which is actual government official, and the Adams staffer discussed the FDNY request through phone calls and the electronic messages. In a phone call to the Adams staffer, the Turkish official stated that because Turkey had supported Adams, it was now, quote, his turn to support Turkey. The Adams staffer relayed this message to Adams, and Adams responded, I know.
He's like, I got to get around to drinks coming up soon.
September 9th, 2021, there's an email from this inspector sent to the fire prevention chief of the FDNY. Chief, after reviewing the letter, I do not see any way would be willing to accept it, meaning the building and its condition. They have some major issues like central station and fan shutdowns, which would be an automatic violation order. Aside from that, he gave us a list with over 60 defects, and some of them on the list, 5 to 10 problems in each one. 60 defects, 5 to 10 on each one, so call it 7. 420 is the average, and 20 is the point at which they would say, nah, you can't open this building up. So it was egregiously in violation.
Wait, so 20 is the max, and how many did they have?
60 defects, with some of them with 5 to 10 problems in each one.
God.
So,
Oh my God.
depending on how you quantify it, either
Oh
it's
my
60
God,
or it's
that's
maybe
so bad.
Anywhere again.
up to 600. Yeah. They really need someone by today if possible. If impossible, please let me know and I will manage your expectation, is what the Turkish official says. Because remember, this is September 9th. September 20th, Erdogan is coming to visit New York, the president of Turkey. And the government, he wants to show him, oh, look at this shiny new consulate we have in UN Plaza or whatever.
Then I'm wondering, was it all furnished? All the
ooh.
decoration is in?
Who knows? No idea. The next day at noon, Adams messages the FDNY commissioner. They said the higher ups, HIRE, higher ups at FDNY
Idiot.
did not give the inspector authorization to
Oh.
come. The inspector indicated he needs the authority to come today. And the commissioner says, working on that as we speak. Later that afternoon, the fire prevention chief then drafts a conditional letter of no objection. Yeah. So basically, the FDNY says, we won't object, Department of Buildings, if you want to issue the temporary certificate of occupancy, the TCO. So basically, the DOB, before they say, yo, you can start, occupying the building or whatever, the FDNY has to say, yeah, we're good, right? And so they basically issued a letter saying, yeah.
So now is
we
the
have no
FDNY in
objections,
trouble
even
too?
though- I mean, whoever
Right,
these people are,
He's having the city implode on itself, which I guess he's like, we're all going down together.
yeah.
Oh my God.
Letter being drafted now. Everything should be go Monday morning, Adams says. And Adams messages the Turkish official, she's saying, from the commissioner, letter being drafted now. Everything should be good to go Monday morning. Turkish official responded, you are great, Eric. So we are so happy to hear that.
You are great,
okay.
Eric.
You are a true friend of
Emoji game
Turkey.
strong.
Stop.
Adams
Oh my God.
replied, yes, even more a true friend of yours. You are my brother. I am here, HEAR, to help.
Oh my God, that is so succession coded.
Deeply.
We here for
deeply.
you.
Yeah. And then
I'm
the official
obsessed.
responds, you are such a friend, prayer hands. And a minute later, the chief sends the conditional letter of no objection to the private alarm engineer. It's just goofy, right? I don't know, man. It's more of the same. He specifically asks to be picked up from the airport in a BMW 7 Series. Cool. Okay. Here we go. In touting the benefits he provided, the Turkish official messaged the Adams staffer, don't let the airline manager and others confuse him. We are the state. meaning, these travel things you're getting, don't forget, it's the country of Turkey that's providing this to you. They just made it be really, here's where it gets good. On December 8th, 2021, so this, mind you, he's been elected now, right? So he takes office in January. Adam Stafford sent the airline manager a link to a list of Adams's transition committees and asked the airline manager, "Have you looked at the list?" The manager responded, "It would suit me well to be lead or senior advisor." 2 days later, he sends a message reiterating, "Lead, please," smiley face.
Only a job was this
PLZ and a
easy.
smiley face.
Otherwise, seat number 52 is empty on the way back, meaning that if the airline manager was not given a position on the transition committee, it would affect Adams's travel benefits
Okay.
from the Turkish
I'm
airline.
obsessed
Wait,
with
so
that.
hold on. An employee who works for Turkish Airlines tried to be like Adam's senior advisor?
On December 17th, 2021, the Adam staffer sent Adams a list of members of Turkish community to add to Adams's transition committees with the airline manager as the top name.
Oh.
So he's like, I don't
Um,
want to work for an airline anymore. I want to work for the New York City
Wait,
government.
I'm like, you get better perks at the airline, I want to say, sir.
Lol.
So this guy is like the GM in New York of Turkish airline, and because of the government's heavy ownership stake, like, could this guy have been like also, moonlighting, right, or like having kind of two roles as a member of like the Turkish like State Department there, right, or maybe even their intelligence service? Who knows, right? Maybe, possibly, right? Like, imagine if the CIA owned American. Well, imagine if the U.S. government owned American Airlines. Would the CIA want to put like some of its officers as high-ranking people in airports in like, or other major cities? Probably, right?
Probably.
So, if we think we might be capable of that, they're certain. I mean, the CIA did run an airline in the 60s and 70s, but that's a whole other topic. Yeah, I mean, they don't allege it and we don't know it, but like, hypothetically speaking, could this airline manager be an officer of their intelligence service? Yeah, could be. And so then Adam sends the list with his name on it to staff members saying, "Add to transition." The airline manager was subsequently added to Adams's infrastructure, climate, and sustainability transition committee.
And that's
Like,
not
I'm
even the worst
sure-
person he had on his staff.
Wait, say more. Who?
Well, okay, so first of all, a bunch of, you could look it up. I think the Times has like a chart. It's almost like did you guys see the musical
Yes.
6 where it's like divorced, beheaded,
Oh, I
died,
did.
divorced, beheaded, survived. But it's like that with his staffers, and it's like fired, indicted, like under criminal investigation. It's awesome. Then he had this big advisor when he was running, Frank Carone, who was like, I think his right-hand man.
Yeah.
And he would do all types of shady stuff. I guess he was Adam's chief of staff. But he was like, he would do all types of shady stuff. Like he would have these meetings at like
You probably
private
met him at an airport
clubs.
lounge, yeah.
He
Yeah.
probably did. But yeah, he'd have like official meetings at private clubs and like fancy restaurants. But then he also had an investment in this company that produced like some kind of bullshit police gear that we don't need. Like, I don't think it was the robot dogs, but like for argument's sake, let's say it was the robot dogs. And then Adams like goes on this press tour, like praising this company and their products and how like New York is going to use them and blah, blah, blah. And like never mentioning that his chief of staff is heavily invested in this company.
Yeah.
And because since we went through all the stuff they're hitting him with, I know, do you have any assumption, like, what could his defense be? You know what I mean? Like, what is his possibility?
Yeah. And so, like, I mean, one, he's hired this lawyer who represented like Musk and a bunch of other people. I mean, he's got good counsel. Like, there's always the Shaggy defense, right? It wasn't me, right? And this is like a variation on Shaggy defense because it's like, it wasn't me, it was all them.
He's like, I don't want to sit in those seats. He's like, I love Coach.
I only went to Istanbul because Istanbul is the New York of
Yeah.
Turkey, right? Some shit
He's like, I
like
trying to
that.
get miles. I saw a TikTok about flying to get my miles. Yeah.
Yeah, I've done a mileage run.
I feel like he's going with the like, this is a political witch hunt, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, but these are Democrats and you're ostensibly a Democrat.
And also it's like,
Yeah, and that's not a legal defense, right? Like,
No.
here we can go into some of the stuff that happened when the FBI showed up, right? So They did search warrants on November 2, 2023 at his house, the residences of the fundraiser, Businessman 5, and the staffer. Each took actions to conceal the criminal conduct committed with Adams. After learning the FBI agents arrived at her residence, but before answering their repeated knocks at the door, the fundraiser called Adams 5 times, even though the agents had not yet given the Adams fundraiser any indication of the purpose for their visit.
It's a guilty conscience right there.
Yeah, discussed many subjects, refused to say who had paid for the 2021 travel to Turkey. Businessman 5 agreed to speak with the FBI, lied in order to conceal the straw donations, falsely denying that he caused his construction company to reimburse his employees for their contribution, that he knew the company had issued identical checks to 10 employees for the amount of their contributions shortly before the fundraiser. It's like, Sara, Danny, and 8 other people, I need you guys to donate like $2,000 to, Eric Adams. And then instead of like sneaking that in with payroll over the course of months to make up the $2,000, it's like, no, I'm going to cut checks 585, 586, 587, whatever. I'm going to write them all out to the employees and the same amount and just sign. Like,
stupid. I feel like the lesson here should just be, if you're gonna do fraud, you should be good at it.
Yeah, like don't be bad. Don't be bad.
Except I don't wish he was good because he's so horrible. So I'm like, great. That indictment day felt like Christmas. I don't know.
Christmas.
It was
honestly. Staffer agrees to speak with the FBI. At one point during a voluntary interview, she goes to the bathroom and while there, deletes the encrypted messaging applications she had used to communicate with Adams, the promoter.
Okay, so they did get smart at one point.
Yeah.
They did try to get smart.
So here, Eric Adams' device. Although Adams was carrying several electronic devices, including 2 cell phones, he was not carrying his personal cell phone, which is the device he used to communicate about the conduct described in this indictment. When Adams produced his personal cell phone the next day in a response to a subpoena, it was, quote, locked, such that the device required a password to open. Adams claimed that he had learned about the investigation into his conduct. He changed the password and increased the complexity from 4 to 6 digits. He had done this, he claimed, to prevent members of his staff from inadvertently or intentionally deleting the contents of his phone because, according to Adams, he wished to preserve the contents of his phone due to the investigation.
Right.
He further claimed that he had forgotten the password. And then he claimed that he forgets the password he had just set and thus was unable to provide the FBI with a password that would unlock the phone.
Oh my God.
But that does set him up for the "it wasn't me" defense, right? Because if he says, oh, like my personal phone, yeah, I never use that thing. Like my assistant does it or staffer does it or whatever. And then he because at this point, if he thinks, all right, I know the FBI has or I can assume that they have the messages or they have reason to believe there are messages, let them find the messages, let them see everything that happened, and then I can always claim the messages weren't sent by me on my phone, they were sent by somebody else, right? So I never was the one communicating those things, everyone else is bad. Yeah, this is the Shaggy variation. It wasn't me, it was people on behalf of me.
Right, he's like, no, I wanted to do the right thing, you guys.
No one else does.
But it was these other people.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll find out. But yeah, sorry, I thought this would be much more bombastic, but instead it's just low-level skullduggery and nonsense.
That's usually how
I feel like because everything funny about Eric Adams, like he says it completely seriously at a press conference.
That is, or also I feel it is kind of the thing where it's the reason why it is all of these notions, everything. It's kind of how clearly you can see how he's going to get himself. There's no real way, even though he has good counsel. I don't think there's any real way. If there's 55 pages of receipts just on one topic.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's I don't see. I mean, at the end of the day, right? If you can't connect the quid pro quo, you have kind of a problem, right?
It seems so obvious. They're like, hey, can we get the cheap flights? And they are like, sure, smiley face. And then they're like, hey, can we get a favor from you now? And they are like, yes, absolutely.
That's why, because it's just textbook. The textbook definition of
it's it's such an obvious quid pro quo. Put me on the jury.
I think you can't now, but yeah.
I know. Delete this podcast.
I think you're done for now, girl. But yeah, the jury of public opinion.
You'd be the first person to walk into the courthouse asking for your jury duty.
Exactly. I would fucking love to sit on this jury. I don't care how boring the indictment is.
I mean, I think we can go. Yeah.
It's true.
No,
I'm sure
yeah,
I could
it's
go if I get like a
federal,
media
right?
pass.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I
I'll
think
report
that's right.
live from there. I'll report live from Fire Festival too, and I'll let
I'm
you guys
excited for all
know.
those updates.
We do have a plan for that for Fire. Danny, you want in on this? We're just going to
You're
try to get
going?
media
Oh yeah, we're
passes
all going.
for-
Obviously,
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
gonna bring cases of water and sell a bottle of
Oh my
water
God,
for
I'll pay
like
off my student
$15
loans. This is
each.
perfect.
Anyway, I can't wait to have the first. Is it the first like active mayor in prison or something like that? Can't wait.
I think
I think
everyone is
Someone
saying,
said,
yeah.
I hope the robot police
no,
officer
I hope
does
it's
the
the
arrest.
SWAT. I hope it's the dancing police officers. The dance team.
Oh my God, yes. Wait, the NYPD dance team. Oh my God,
Dance
yes.
team.
They
He
do.
got
They need to do
arrested
the
by the
arrest.
dance team.
Deeply, I hope their involvement was felt. I think, and also Eric would appreciate that. He'd have one final club appearance.
I don't know, guys. Well, I'm sorry
Okay.
that wasn't
Well,
as
honestly, I appreciate because I didn't totally know what was going on with him, so I am very grateful that you explained it to me.
So it's actually funny because I was on the bus yesterday and this guy behind me was explaining to his girlfriend like what the indictment was about, and she'd never even heard that he was indicted. And I was like, wow, I want to go inside your
this has
brain.
been I've been begging
Yeah.
for, if like, I just would love a lobotomy. It's from, yeah.
I'm of the camp that he needs to go as soon as possible. Like this is just
Kathy
Girl,
Hochul,
you have one job. Well, actually,
This
you have a
is a
lot of
layup,
jobs, but do this
ma'am.
one. Yes.
I'm literally just, this is a layup for you. This is a freebie. This is a freebie. So
there's a dub just kind of hanging out,
come on.
hanging out there.
Exactly.
It's like in Mario where you have that last coin you have to jump over the brick to get to, and you're like, I can't. You keep going back. You keep going back. Yeah. All right. Well, it's been real. Thank you guys so much for joining on this twisted little journey we took through Eric Adams's indictment, and I'm sure this won't be the last time we get together to discuss some
Yes,
nonsense.
I love
fun.
playing business with you guys.
All right. Until next time.
The Noisecutter podcast is a production of Chatterjee Creative, LLC, and is hosted by me, Rex Chatterjee. On whatever app you're listening on, please take a moment to give us a review, leave a comment, and follow or subscribe. Every single bit of engagement helps. If you want more info about this episode or the podcast in general, head over to our website, noisecutter.com, or hit us up directly at info@noisecutter.com. This recording is a copyright of Chatterjee Creative, LLC, with all rights reserved. This podcast should not be construed as attorney advertising, and prior results do not guarantee a similar outcome. Nothing in this podcast should be construed as legal advice, and your listening to this podcast or contacting us about it does not form an attorney-client relationship. No affiliation or relationship, including an attorney-client relationship, exists between us and our guests unless otherwise stated. For full terms of use, please visit our website at noisecutter.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time here at Noisecutter.